Death in America gets a bum rap. We're a nation of deniers. Our fear of death is matched only by our fear that the medical industrial complex will not discover, develop, and market at an outrageous price a pill or portion that will allow us to live forever. In the culture game that we are all taught to play, one of the primary rules is that we must think of death as totally un-American, a blight on our society, and an event that should be put off at all costs. Our personal lexicons are utterly devoid of any mention of the word death, dead, or die. Any reference to death is couched in ridiculous euphemisms such as passed on, passed away, passed over. It is virtually impossible for most rational adults to even utter the D word. Look at any newspaper's obituary column, and you will rarely find a simple, honest statement that the person in question has actually died. John Smith went to be with the Lord, or Henry James has quietly passed over ad nauseum. In the latter part of the last century, some progress was made in the thorny task of bringing death in America out of the closet. Gradually, the repression of this final taboo became topical enough so that we could begin to openly and publicly address, to some degree, our concerns and fears about death and dying. In the mid-70s, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross was recognized for her pioneer work with death and dying. At the same time, Raymond Moody's book, Life After Life, exploded onto the literary scene, and as a result, the near-death experience has become a household term. National organizations such as the Hemlock Society and Death with Dignity were very successful raising the public's awareness about the disgraceful realities that surround our actual process of death and dying in America. In 1998, a small but determined organization called Compassion in Dying was able to bring the Death with Dignity movement to the U.S. Supreme Court and eventually help pass state legislation that allow assistance in dying. In spite of these important achievements, as a society, we are still very much in the dark about death, and we still suffer from a terminal denial when it comes to passing on. Consider the ancient tale of the merchant of Baghdad, who sends his servant to the marketplace early in the morning to buy the provisions for the day. In a very short time, the servant returns, terrified, close to hysteria. He explains to the master that he was jostled in the marketplace by the presence of death. Master, Master, death looked at me menacingly and threateningly, and I beg you to give me a horse so that I may ride off to Samara and escape my fate. Well, the master sees how alarmed his servant is and helps him saddle up the best horse he can find and let him gallop off to Samara. Later in the day, the master goes down to the marketplace and seeks out death and asks, "Why did you menace and threaten my servants this morning?" Death replies, "I did not threaten your servant. I did not mean to frighten him. The look I gave him was a look of shock and surprise. To see him here in the marketplace in Baghdad this morning when I have an appointment with him tonight in Samara. We have all been given a woeful picture of what awaits us when we die. Unfortunately, other than those who have had a near-death experience, there's a paucity of hard evidence about the realities of the hereafter, if indeed there is actually an hereafter. Many of us were saddled at an early age with the hell and brimstone nonsense taught to us by many organized religions. For most, heaven is a combination of angels, harps, and a guy with a long white beard. Since no one has been given a preview of the inevitable event, we have every right to view eternity in whatever way we wish. So why not make it up the way we want to be consistent with our own beliefs and personal philosophies? Day after day, we make up our lives as we go along. So why not, at the risk of being labeled lugubrious, why not make up our death? Rather than the fear of death, consider the creation of your own fantasy that includes a healthy and lively sense of humor. I have no idea how or when I shall take that final leap into eternity, nor am I in any rush to have it happen. However, there will be no grim reaper to usher me to the pearly gates. In fact, there will be no pearly gates. A woman, a beautiful woman, a veritable cosmic mother, will be there to greet me. She will enfold me in her warm and gentle embrace and greet me. And she will comfort me and assure me that I am most welcome, and indeed, all of paradise has awaited my arrival. She will then lead me out of the darkness from which I came, into a magnificent field flooded with colors, vivid colors. There will be music with chords and arpeggios I have never heard, and in the midst of all this glory, there will be everyone I have ever loved and cherished in my life: my wife Camilla, my parents, my twin brother Jim, my aunts, my uncles, relatives, and friends. Then, of course, out of the nowhere, she will appear, late as usual, my daughter Kathleen, and she will leap into my arms and say those two words that my heart has longed to hear: "Hi, Dad." And in that moment, I will discover, even in paradise, tears can flow. When the festivities are concluded, my beautiful cosmic guide will seek me out and ask if I have any questions. I will reply, "Yeah, where is God?" And she will smile and say, "Do you remember as a child that you were taught that God sees every sparrow that falls?" When I say yes, she will smile again and continue, "John, God does not see every sparrow that falls. God is every sparrow that falls." If you will ponder that most profound thought, you will come to understand that there never has been and never will be anything but God. God is present in every particle of dust, and in every rainbow, in all of heaven and your vast universe. There is nothing but God. Remember what Jesus said: "Split a piece of wood and I am there. Lift a stone and you will find me there." There has never been a moment in your struggle on earth that you are not in the divine presence as you are now and always will be. Then I shall gather up my bedroll and chamber pot to begin my journey through the labyrinths, catacombs, and corridors of eternity. I shall seek out a few of those who have made my life a little richer on earth. Shakespeare, Shelley for the words, Bach and Mozart for the music, and find some of the teachers who made my struggle through life a little easier. Jesus for his wisdom and comfort, Gandhi, Jane Austen, Martin Luther King. Absurd, foolish, perhaps, but it beats the fire and brimstone version. Why not get off that horse that leads to Samara and embrace death as a wondrous mystery that it is? What I suggest is not a morbid preoccupation with death, but rather a conscious awareness of what someone termed a delicious knowledge that we do not have to live forever. What is tragic is our denial that without death there can be no life. To those who have the courage to examine their lives with awareness, death is simply the next great adventure. It is death that makes our life possible. If all things lasted forever, nothing would be special or good or beautiful. Rather than an issue to be avoided, death can become an important ally that allows each of us to sort out the significant from the trivial, the spiritual, and the material, and bring into clear focus the brief time we have to live and love in this life.